I thought I was out. They pull me back in. I was out and about in town, in the center of town, and Rutgers lands a couple more commits out of the transfer portal. Let's get to it. So there's been talk over the past few days about a couple guys that Rutgers reached out to. And we landed two more guys today in addition to Daryl Dengoe. And that's defensive tackle out of South Florida, Douglas Blue Eli, out of Paulsboro, New Jersey. And running back CJ Campbell out of Florida Atlantic via Florida State. Some people might think it a little bit strange why we're going after pursuing running backs when we have a pretty good running back room. We'll get to that in a second. Nonetheless, we land Blue Eli, depending on whose numbers you go by, 6'2", 6'3", to 315 to 330. And you add Dengoe at 6'2", or Dengoe 6'2", 305. The coaching staff understands what they have to do. And I have to be honest with you, I'm quite surprised about how quickly they're filling needs and filling holes and getting guys on board. You know, typically Greg Schiano likes the process. He's not going to rush. Wants to get the right guy, right cultural fit, loves football. But I think you can kind of tell that they identified guys early, or identified issues early, identified guys early, and got them in the fold in order to kind of rebuild a defensive line that, you know, we lose Wesley Bailey to the portal, Malcolm Ray, Keontae Hamilton, Troy Rainey. So there's some rebuilding to do there, not unlike the offensive line the past couple of years. Nonetheless, Eli had 13 starts, 2023. Kind of does the, you know, he's the glue guy, the grinder, does the dirty work. TCU transfer via junior college. He was an All-American at Monroe, which is New Rochelle, New York. He helped increase USF's sack totals. When you talk about, you know, building a unit, building a defense, it's not just about the guys who, you know, compile the stats. It's about guys who contribute to your unit in ways that don't always show up in the stat sheet. And Eli could be one of those guys because USF increased their sack total by 35 after he arrived. 17 tackles, 5 solo, 12 assisted, 1 interceptions. And this is kind of like the new normal now, that you have a need, or you lose a guy, you have guys are hurt. The portal has changed the way about, not just about player movement, but how it impacts your philosophy. How is this going to impact Greg Schiano every year having to go into the portal to add guys to his roster to fill holes, fill needs, build depth? I think this is going to be a challenge for them because Greg Schiano kind of is the guy that believes his program is built around culture, right? Get the right guy, guys that love football, good in the locker room, good on the field, good off the field. And the problem with that is that over time, you can build your core values into a cohesive unit. You know, maybe you're not going to have the flashiest guys with the gaudiest stats, but they play well together, understand each other, play for each other, and that can get you wins. But with the portal now, guys rotating in and out every year, you're not going to have time for that. It's going to be all about scheme and play calling and making plays by the players. Because now they're going to be in there for a year. Okay, let's go. Boom. You got to make the plays. There's no waiting for you to develop next year so we all can sit around singing Kumbaya and play well together. This is going to be a different style of leadership for coach. It remains to be seen how that's going to flesh out. whoever transfers in for the most part. Now, Doug Blue Eli, I believe, has he has 1 year of eligibility left, and so he's going to have to be one of those guys that makes plays right away, fits in right away, builds the chemistry right away. I think Dengoe actually has 3 years left, so there's some upside going on there. Nonetheless, the coaching staff is going about their business rather quickly. A little bit of a surprise. We got some early Christmas presents from the Portal gods. And the second guy that we added to the room was a little bit of a surprise. Running back, thought to be a position group of strength with Antoine Raymond, Ja'Shawn Benjamin, Gabe Winovich, Terrell Mitchell, and a lot of these guys are underclassmen. So these guys are kind of true developmental guys, and he's going to have, CJ is going to have 1 year. He played Florida State. I think he played 6 games. So he has 1 year of eligibility left. And he's going to have to contribute right away. Now, Mike and Richie from the Right Report were saying he could be the number 1 guy. Not sure how that's going to flesh out. Antoine Raymond likely thinks he's the heir apparent, and he's played pretty well. I think this is going to be a different kind of setup than we're used to when it comes to the running game. Now, Richie's really excited about CJ, and I am as well, for his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. That's going to give us an added dimension in our passing game, in our offense, in how we scheme. The more we can spread the ball around to different athletes, the more that we can keep defenses off balance. And it's something we have never done well. And I've screamed about this 1,000 times. Why can't we complete a screen pass? I mean, it's the easiest play on 2nd and long, 2nd and short, 3rd and long, 3rd and short. You know, why throw these low percentage passes deep down the sideline when you complete an easy pass to someone like CJ Campbell, who is an excellent pass receiving running back that averages over 5 yards per carry. So he's kind of a dual, people talk about dual threat quarterbacks, dual threat running backs. Some stats at Florida Atlantic this past year: 164 carries, 855 yards, 5.1 average, 11 touchdowns, really good productivity. Here's what Richie got really excited about, and I'm happy about as well. 40 receptions for 466 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think other than Daimir, that would have led the team for us this year. Kyle could physically, he can catch the ball. He was reliable that way, but it really wasn't fluid in his patterns or how he high-pointed the ball. He just was able to catch it, and once he caught it, like we saw against Illinois, he got out in the flat and he scored a big touchdown for us. But I'm not sure that he'll be running back 1 and Antoine 1A. I think you see a lot in football, a lot of teams using dual running backs, 2 running backs, not where they're kind of like getting the even amount of carries, but depending on down and distance and situational football, who they're going to use on any particular down or play. But I feel that Kirk Schiano has the opportunity here to be the mad scientist. We've lacked a true pass-catching threat out of the backfield forever. And you have to go back to one of my favorite Rutgers players of all time. This is how far we got to go back. Now, it's not Thunder and Lightning, but Brian Leonard. Brian Leonard had, are you ready for this? 207 receptions. You heard that right. Brian Leonard had 207 receptions. To put that in context, Kenny Britt had 178. Leonte Carew had, I think he had like 114. I mean, that's unbelievable. Here were Brian Leonard's stats. He had 53 freshman year, 61 sophomore year, 55 his junior year in 2005. And then 2006, as Ray Rice became more of a focal point of the offense, he had 38. We all remember that. I mean, at least those of us old enough to remember that third down pass on the final drive. As soon as the ball went into his hands out in the flat, I knew we were winning the game. There was no way he wasn't going to make that play, and he did. Nonetheless, actually, Leonte Carew had 107, 100 less catches than Brian Leonard. Anyway, I watched some film on CJ Campbell, and he is kind of a shifty guy, but he accelerates through the hole probably a little faster. I don't know what his stats are in 40 time and all that, but he seems to accelerate through daylight a little faster than Kyle. Although Kyle's built a little more low to the ground, and he can get through there without exploding through the hole. And he has, CJ has an upright running stride, kind of a physical, upright, but explosive kind of running stride. Like I said, I'd love nothing more than to complete some screen passes out to this guy instead of throwing those low percentage passes. Have an outlet to a guy. This can be a really huge part of our offense. I mean, if you can get 40 receptions out of the running back position, that takes the pressure off everything else and gives you just another weapon, another tool in the toolkit. Get him into space. There's big play potential every time. Career stats, 190 attempts rushing, 1,025 yards, 5.4 yards per run average, and 14 touchdowns, 844 and 11 of yards, and 11 of those touchdowns at Florida Atlantic. Didn't see much action at Florida State, which is obviously why he went to Florida Atlantic. Some talk, and Richie and Mike touched on this, that he's not great in pass blocking. That's a big step back from Kyle, who wasn't afraid to mix it up in there. But the thing about that is he's going to be on a better team, better coaching, better offensive line, better weapons, better quarterback. And having more weapons and different scheme and plays to run, it's not going to be as dependent on him to pass block as much part of the play as it might have been at Florida Atlantic that doesn't have those advantages. We're going to miss Kyle's leadership on the field, his grittiness, his toughness, his willingness to play off the field, in the locker room. Great work ethic. You can't replace those guys, but CJ will give us a dimension that I think we've been missing, and hopefully Kirk Shiraki can scheme up. As the mad scientists, I want to see a more open offense next year, and I think we have some potential to have a different style offense. We're going to lose some slot receivers. We're looking at, I can't remember who we're looking at right now, but no, nonetheless, we're looking at one or two guys. We're losing Christian Dremel. We're losing Daimir. So another reason why being able to get 40 to 50. I'd have no problem, getting 40 to 50 reception production out of the running back position. In fact, I think that's pretty good because the defense, there's no way you can defend everybody in that case. Right now, they defend the wide receivers. You've seen how our screen passes out of the backfield are just disjointed and clunky and not a threat whatsoever. Now, defenses are going to have to be on their toes. So there we have it. I'm not sure that there's going to be any more portal news this week. We've gotten off to a pretty solid start, filling a couple defensive line positions, running back position, which is probably a little more important than you think, especially and I hope he makes a comeback and he does well and he gets production because he deserves it, and that's Sam. But we're not sure what the deal is going to be with Sam next year, how much he's going to play, if he's going to play, when he's going to play. But looking for, we need, a player or two at virtually every position, whether it's corner, safety, linebacker, offensive line will be a biggie with Holland Pierce moving on. We're going to need a left tackle. We're not going to be able to go out and buy the best left tackle. So any news comes up along those lines, wide receiver or DC, not much chatter about that right now. Just a lot of people speculating. Obviously, Steve Belichick not going to be in the fold. I heard a couple weeks ago that when people thought Bill Belichick going to North Carolina was just a play to leverage an NFL job. Apparently, he could have had the Raiders job or the Cowboys job. But North Carolina, it's a new world in college football. These are not amateur athletes. These are paid athletes, some making a lot of money. And Bill Belichick is going to bring that NFL model with a general. It's not going to be about the athletic director making decisions. You're going to have a general manager. You're going to have a cap guy. He's going to turn modern college football into the direction that it's going and where the NFL has been. I don't, how much, if you watched me at all, I don't love it. I think it'll be interesting to see in April what the NIL rules are, paying amateur athletes at nonprofit organizations like colleges and universities, to me is bizarre. When these athletes are getting literally hundreds and thousands of dollars in tuition, books, room and board, food, meal plans, coaching, athletic coaching, life coaching, business coaching, free publicity from the colleges, the universities, and the NCAA. If you try to get all those things in the private sector, you'd have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for that. So that's worth something. That's not nothing. Paying, average, not even average guys that are just bodies that you can plug in out of the portal, paying them $400,000 or $500,000 a year, quite frankly, is kind of crazy. They have to figure out a better system than that. We'll see what happens coming April. That being said, enough of my soapbox. Everybody enjoy the rest of your weekend and enjoy our transfer portal additions to Rutgers football.